Hi, I'm Jason.
Hi, I'm Vivienne.
And this is Burger of the Week. Each week, we discuss an episode of Fox's animated series, Bob's Burgers, and then we create a themed burger based on that episode.
This week, we're discussing Season 1, Episode 6, Sheesh Cab Bob. This episode was written by John Schroeder, directed by Jennifer Coyle. This episode aired March 6, 2011. We have a few new voice actors this week because we're introduced to a few reoccurring characters in this episode. Jay Johnson voices Jimmy Pesto. He's had many small roles, and he was on the most recent season of Arrested Development, the one on Netflix. Kevin Kline voices Mr. Fischoeder. He's a very accomplished stage and film actor. He's won 2 Tony Awards, an Oscar, and a SAG Award. He's done voice acting before, and I recognize him as Tulio from The Road to El Dorado. Jack McBrayer, who plays Kenneth Parcell on 30 Rock. Oscar Nunez, who plays Oscar Martinez on The Office. And Stephen A.G., who plays Stephen Myron on the Sarah Silverman program, all voice the cross-dressing sex workers that we see this episode. And David Herman voices Marshmallow. David Herman also voices Mr. Frond and Trev, the bartender at Jimmy Pesto's.
This week, the store next door was Extra Moist Yoga. I'm sure Bob goes there.
Oh my gosh.
The exterminator van was, again, Rats All Folks. And we had a few burgers of the day. We had Olive and Let Die, Thank God It's Fried Eggs, and Happy Burger Day. And let's get straight to it. Tina's 13th birthday is coming up, and Linda wants to throw her an extra special birthday. Tina tells her parents she wants to have a boy-girl party with a DJ, a smoke machine, and her crush waiting to give her her first kiss. Bob reminds Linda that they do not have the money for an extravagant party, but Linda insists they find a way.
So this is the first time that we meet Jimmy Pesto, and we're introduced to his rivalry with Bob. And in the opening scene, I love that we set up Bob as the underdog right away. Like, he's on the sidewalk, he's hosing it down, he's got his kids outside, and Jimmy Pesto instigates their argument. Like, he's the one who calls across the street, Bob, hey, you know, oh, you missed a spot, never mind, it's your mustache. Like, he's just a jerk.
Yeah.
So you get the sense that Bob is not the one who started this rivalry. That...
And I think that's...
Yeah.
It's because Jimmy Pesto's is a little bit more of an upscale restaurant. It's like an Olive Garden type style.
Yeah.
It's like a sit-down restaurant. They've got waiters and all that. Where Bob's is a little bit more of a obvious mom and pop shop. It's very small, low-key. And so Jimmy Pesto's got to puff his chest up and say, hey, we're more successful, so, hey, Bob, you suck.
Plus, Jimmy Pesto, as we learn, is just kind of a show-off anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And Bob is not that kind of person.
And Jimmy Pesto's got his little lackey on the side who's always like, hey, great joke, Jimmy.
Oh, Trev.
Yeah.
So pathetic.
It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and Bob can't even come up with a good comeback. Like, he just can't do it
He
on
never
his...
can.
No, he never really can. And he has to ask his kids for help. And then, of course, Jimmy would see that as kind of pathetic.
Yeah, a little bit of weakness.
Doesn't even bother to stay to wait to see what his comeback is.
No, it doesn't matter. He
just
doesn't
leaves.
care. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So once we're inside the restaurant, that's when Tina tells her parents what she'd like for her birthday party. And it always strikes me in this show how open Tina is about her romantic desires with her parents.
She has no filter.
She has no filter. She doesn't seem to care at all.
No
and
shame.
All I can think of is how I was as a teenager and how I would have died if any of this information would have gotten out to my parents.
100%.
There is no way I would have said any of this stuff to my parents. I would not have told them, oh, I want to have a kiss from a boy, because I can guarantee you both of them would have gotten probably really red.
Uncomfortable.
And really uncomfortable. Yeah. They probably would have been awkward about it. So
I think it's really healthy what she does and how she is. I think being open like that is great.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
everybody should have a relationship like that with their parents. Within some reason. I mean, it's nice to be totally open with your family. But I think sometimes she's a little bit too open.
Yeah, I think she crosses that line. I'm not saying that my experience as a teenager with my parents was perfect or was really the way that we should be, with our children in the future or anything like that. But I think maybe I was too far on one side and Tina's just a little too far on the other side. And we should find a happy medium where she can be open about the boys that she's interested in, but maybe not telling them a little too much about how she wants the first kiss to go in like a verging on erotica level discussion.
Yeah. Agreed.
But it is sweet. It's nice that Bob wasn't really uncomfortable about the idea of Jimmy, like, he wasn't uncomfortable about the idea of his daughter kissing somebody else. It just seemed to be more, oh, well, I don't want to be kissing that kid.
Yeah,
because I don't like Jimmy Pesto.
We've got a rivalry. Respect the rivalry.
Yeah, respect the rivalry,
fraternize
Tina.
with the enemy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was kind of nice. And Bob really wants to make her happy. So Bob meets with his landlord, Mr. Fishoder, who offers him a job as a taxi cab driver so he can earn some extra money. Bob accepts the job, making a plan to work at the restaurant during the day and drive the cab at night. Meanwhile, Louise trains Tina for her hopeful kiss with Jimmy Pesto Jr. So, Jason, what did you think of Mr. Fishoder when we first meet him?
He's so mysterious and ominous, and he feels very important. He thinks he's very important, meeting on a foggy pier.
With a cape.
With a cape. He does mention, he has to bring up the fact that it feels nice against my cape. And he's got an eye patch. Like, everything about him is kind of mysterious.
Did you feel like he was a Bond villain? Because he feels a little like a Bond villain.
He looks like a Bond villain. He's got every aspect about him that is villainous. But I think it's almost very much of a show. He's putting on this persona of, I'm super important, I'm an evil landlord, I have control over everything.
Do you think he believes he's evil? Like he's trying to put that kind of vibe out?
I think he thinks he's important. Very important.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. He's very self-centered.
Why else would he own a cape?
Yeah, good point. only people who think they're really important own capes.
Yeah.
I mean, hello, superheroes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about you and how you can fly. God.
But Mr. Fishoder's cape is very short, so he's very sensible in that fact. He can't get it caught in doors, plane engines.
Yes, good point.
Anything
good point.
like that.
Yep. I love Mr. Fishoder. He's completely ridiculous, totally self-centered, and I never really thought too much about the way he looked, to be honest. It always just made perfect sense with the voice and the way we see, like the way he acts later on in the series. I guess I always just sort of accepted it. But really, his outfit is completely ridiculous. He's always wearing like white clothes. He has an eye patch. All in white.
His eye patch is white. His hair is white.
Oh my gosh, his eye patch is white.
Yeah.
Yeah, his hair is white and has like this weird, I don't know, poofy looking thing at the sides of his hair. Krusty the Clown looking thing. He's just very bizarre. He's very recognizable. And I kind of like that about him. He just screams money, I guess, in a really, but also completely eccentric.
Oh, absolutely. Very eccentric.
That's very fun.
One thing you mentioned that his look is very iconic is that's very true to a lot of the recurring characters in the show. Their looks are really iconic. You could pick them out instantly. We'll see a couple examples of that later on in this episode even. Marshmallow. Even the rollerblading guy. Like, you know them immediately.
Yep.
They're
mullet, Speedo, rollerblade guy.
Yep.
We have no idea his name, but I recognize him every time because he's always wearing the same outfit.
And I think he's in every episode, too. Skating by.
Oh.
At least once.
He might be.
I'm going to keep a lookout for him.
Yeah. And his outfit is well, their outfits are just so eccentric, so kind of ridiculous that you do notice them every time that they are around, even if they're not prominent in the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jason, would you let your significant other work this much? Linda seems to be fairly okay with the idea that Bob's going to be working all day at the restaurant and then driving all night. Obviously, this is something that he's not going to be doing for very long,
right.
But how would you feel if I was doing something like this?
It's temporary and it's for a good cause. I totally support it.
Okay.
Because if my kid wants to have something that's that important, that only happens like once in your lifetime. You only turn a teenager once. This is 12 to 13. It's a huge deal for kids. If it meant working for a week, double shifts, then I think that's a totally acceptable sacrifice.
Okay. Interesting. I understand the reason why they didn't do this, but I couldn't help but think, why doesn't Linda work somewhere else during the day? Because Bob is really the one who's generally cooking at the restaurant. He seems to be a little bit more involved with the customers there. Obviously, it might have been a little bit more difficult because Linda would have had to go out try to find a job during the day. But yeah, I felt a little bit like, well, why does Bob have to do everything? Why doesn't maybe Linda take over more during the day so that Bob is doing this at night? But
I think
I understand the reason for it story-wise. I totally get it.
Well, it makes sense in other ways as well. Bob is the one who owns the restaurant.
Yeah, but wouldn't you think he'd own it with Linda?
Not initially. I think maybe he does now, but I think everything's in his name.
Okay.
And so it's his job to go to the landlord because it's his business. So Mr. Fischoeder discusses it with Bob and offers Bob the job. And like you said, it does happen. It has to happen pretty quickly because her birthday's coming up immediately. So there's no time for Linda to go look for a job. And this was just offered to Bob on the fly. And also, it's a stereotype, but male cab drivers do better at night. Female drivers aren't as confident and comfortable working the night shifts. And this is true with, I think, most cities.
Yeah, okay. I could see that. And especially when we're introduced to the nightlife in whatever city this is. It's not the friendliest nightlife. It's kind of seedy. It's a little like dirty, grungy. So Linda probably would not have been as comfortable as Bob. Right.
I agree that Linda could easily have found a job if the time had allowed for it. And we do see in the future, in future seasons, she does decide to find jobs every now and then. So she is not against working, and the show isn't against showing her working. So
no, that's true. You're right.
At this point, I'd like to point out some similarities to episode 8 of season 3 of The Simpsons, called Lisa's Pony. Homer realizes he's been neglecting Lisa, so he wants to do one giant gesture in order to make up for all the years of neglect. So he buys her a pony. And the only way he can afford this pony is by working double job. So he works during the day at the power plant, and at night he gets a job working at the Quickie Mart, the local convenience store. He explains it to his wife, Marge, how he's going to manage this. He says, I'll work 12 to 8 at the Quickie Mart. I'll sleep for 5 minutes. I'll have breakfast. I'll sleep for another 6 minutes. Then I'll shower. And then I'll have 10 minutes to bask in Lisa's love. And then it's off to the power plant.
Oh.
Yeah.
10 minutes to bask in Lisa's love? That's adorable.
Yeah. So he does this, and he works the double shift, and he is sleep deprived, and all because he loves his daughter and the sacrifice that he's willing to make for her. So I thought it was a great parallel.
Yeah, I just can't help but think of the differences between Homer Simpson and Bob Belcher.
Huge
and how
differences.
They're such different
It's just
fathers.
insane. Yeah.
But yeah, they're thrown into kind of similar situations. Definitely.
It's nice to see how different shows can tackle those different situations.
Exactly. And I think that this is a bit more of a maybe progressive view on that.
I think it's more realistic, that's for sure.
More realistic, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
A lot of families work double jobs just so they can afford to send their kids to school, buy their kids stuff they want, even clothes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not totally unheard of for somebody to work 2 jobs in a family.
Yeah, to provide for their children, absolutely.
Yeah, and the reasoning in Bob's is a lot more down to earth than The Simpsons buying a pony.
Yeah, which tends to be, a little bit more dramatic than this show does.
Bob's definitely is a bit more grounded.
Yeah.
Bob has a very eventful first night as a taxi driver. He befriends 3 cross-dressing sex workers, Glitter, Marbles, and Cha-Cha. The next morning, Bob is so tired he falls asleep at the kitchen table, while Tina is doing some kissing exercises. And let's talk about those kissing exercises that Louise is having her do.
Oh my gosh, they're so bad.
But
they're so great. They're
great.
so great. Tina's going to have excellent tongue strength after this.
Oh yeah, her jaw is never going to get sore either. Louise is great in this episode. She's definitely more likable, in my opinion. She's not as violent, aside from her incredible slap fest earlier on.
Yeah.
Which is great. I think it's fantastic. I love it.
It's just kind of a funny background gag.
Yeah.
So why would you say that Louise is more likable in this episode?
Because I feel like she's a lot more, I hate to use this word again, but grounded. She seems more like a 9-year-old to me.
Okay.
Instead of this crazy, hyper-violent, kill people and skin them alive and...
She feels less like Stewie Griffin.
Yeah.
From Family Guy.
Yeah.
Who is just basically a murderous baby.
Yeah, she seems like a sister who likes to mess around with her siblings.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
she's a prankster.
Giving Tina a banana peel to tie in a bow in her mouth instead of a cherry stem into a knot is so fantastic. I love it. And the fact that she just grams it in Tina's mouth and Tina spits out a beautiful bow.
Yeah, she actually manages
really
to
impressive.
do it well.
And that must taste awful.
Yeah.
So gross.
Like, bananas are already kind of bad on their own.
And the peel, texture peel, ugh.
Disgusting.
But that bow was magnificent.
Yeah. I think that Louise, to me, is more likable in this episode because even though she's clearly messing with Tina, like she's, saying that, oh, a kiss is like a fight with mouths and all of this, she's still actually helping her sister.
Still helping
she's
her.
Kind of giving her a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, she really is.
So it is very sweet. I don't think she realizes that she's being kind of sweet.
And she's being helpful.
Yeah, and I think if I pointed it out to her, she'd probably be like, "Oh, that's sick!
Yeah.
You take that back!
You take that back! That's gross. That don't help my family."
But there's love underneath.
Yeah, there is.
Everything that she does in this episode. So that's why I think I like her a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bob's first night as a cab driver is really interesting, and I couldn't help but think of when you were a cab driver, Jason.
I was a cab driver.
Yeah.
I was a cab driver for about 2 years. And I'll tell you straight up that it is not as glamorous as Bob's Burgers shows it to be.
Really? You think that Bob's Burgers glamorized cab driving?
He had a puker. His very first customer was a puker.
Okay.
But...
Is that glamour?
But... at the end of like his second night, he's waving to everybody. He's giving everyone like smiles and nods. He knows everybody.
He already has regulars.
He's already got regulars. He's got friends. It's not really like that, at least in this city.
Of course not.
But that's understandable because they don't really want to show you how terrible it can be.
Yeah. So, Jason, can you tell us about some of your weirdest cab driving moments?
My first, I think it might have been my first or second week, I did have a puker, and it was really awful. It was an underage girl. I was driving around with her for almost 2 hours trying to find out where she lived because she was in no state of speaking. She was with a friend who didn't really know her. She wasn't really a friend. And we were going to different people's houses to find their parents, and eventually it all worked out. We found where she lived, dropped her off, and I got paid, but there was puke in the cab. I took it back to the apartment to get it cleaned, and
Yeah, I had to help for this.
yeah,
It was disgusting. She puked strawberry daiquiri, I believe it was, all over the back seat.
It was gross.
It was disgusting, and I don't think you worked for the rest of the evening.
No,
I think that was it.
I had to stop because the cab was in no shape. So I cleaned for an hour. I took it to a car wash and did some scrubbing, and it was... I do not have a good gag reflex. I'm very, very not good with that.
Oh, no.
So it probably took double the time. Ugh.
And in this episode, we see Bob just, like, hosing down the inside of the cab.
It is not that easy.
Oh, my goodness. Of course it's not that easy. Your cab will be soaked. And I think that your seats in that cab they weren't, like, vinyl or
they weren't easy
leather.
To scrub.
I think they were fabric, which is just terrible.
Yeah.
And I hope that they got that professionally cleaned after you cleaned it, because holy crap, that would have been gross to drive in that afterwards.
So I'm not sure how it works in other cities, but with cabs, it's a discretionary decision. If you feel like you've cleaned it enough, then you don't have to get it professionally cleaned.
Yeah.
So it's up to you. If you feel like you've cleaned enough, then you get to pocket that $80.
Okay. Interesting. I'm surprised that it's not something mandatory where they're just going to make you do that professionally cleaning because they don't want their cabs... Or they don't want their cab drivers maybe kind of cleaning, sort of, and then pocketing the money.
And then the next person who gets in the cab is like, what the hell is going on here? Why does it smell like gross banana daiquiri?
Yeah. Oh, God, it was banana daiquiri?
No,
That's, like, way worse. Okay. For some reason, that just made it, like, 10 times worse.
No, it was definitely pink.
Yeah, okay.
Ugh.
Ugh, disgusting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that was, like, my first or second week of cabbing, and that was not fun.
No. Did you have any other weird experiences in cabs?
There was... I had to pull a guy out that was sick because he couldn't move and he was gonna throw up, so I had to physically like pull him out and hold him while he threw up beside the cab. But that was a win for me because I managed to get him out.
Oh yeah, good point. And actually that reminds me of when Bob's grabbing the mullet Speedo rollerblade wearing guy, and he takes him out of the cab and he's trying to stand him up, but of course the rollerblades are making that kind of impossible.
Yeah.
So that's basically what you did, except that guy ended up throwing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's really your responsibility. It's your duty to make sure that the person you drop off is okay. If they're in no condition to walk anywhere or tell you where they live, you need to make sure they get somewhere safe. I don't know whether that's just me having like morals or
being like a good person
or whether that's part of the rules of being a cab driver, but I would feel like absolute garbage if I dropped somebody off who was 3 sheets to the wind, blackout drunk, and then you find out the next day that they got robbed or they got mugged or they
walked into the street and got hit by a car.
Something awful.
Anything.
I always made sure that didn't happen.
Yeah.
That's why I drove around for so long with that girl, because you want to make sure she finds a place to go and that the right people get her. There wasn't a lot of glamour in driving a cab. There were no really regulars. It was people going to the bars, parties, nothing fancy.
Yeah. I think there were a couple times you drove people with like cats or dogs.
Yeah, that was fun.
In the car.
I did enjoy when pets would get in the car. There was one that was a pretty sad story, but this girl had just been kicked out of her apartment with her boyfriend, and she had everything she owned in the cab. She brought it out in a shopping cart, and there was bags and suitcases, and then she also had a kitten in her hand, like a small, tiny little kitten. And this girl was crying, and the whole time I was driving her to her mom's place, and this kitten was just sitting in her arms, staring out the windows, like very observant, didn't meow once, didn't make any noises.
Oh.
She was just really adorable. And it was this cute little thing during this terrible time for this girl. And it was really sad. But
it's nice to have something comforting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely comforting for this girl.
Mm-hmm. So, you never experienced any transvestite hookers, as Bob calls them in this episode. You never had anything like that? Nothing
I
that
had
crazy?
prostitutes.
Oh.
And strippers.
Okay. So I actually looked this up because there is a lot of misinformation, I guess, about certain terms. So the reason that I call the transvestite hookers in this episode, the reason I call them cross-dressing sex workers is because personally, I don't really like the word hookers. And transvestite is kind of an outdated term. It's been largely replaced with crossdresser because there was some confusion before with terms like transgender. So transvestite actually refers to heterosexual, cisgender men who dress in women's clothing. So this means that they were assigned male at birth, they identify as male, and they're still interested in women. But they dress in women's clothing not for like performance like drag queens, but just for other reasons.
They get sexual gratification out of it.
Yeah. And I'm sure they're catering to like a certain crowd in this city as well. So Glitter, Marbles, and Cha-Cha, because they still identify as men in the episode. Like we have Cha-Cha saying, "Oh, I'm a married man too," while dressed like a woman. Then the three of them would be cross-dressing sex workers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe that community is trying to take back that term.
I think there are people in that community that are trying to take back the term transvestite, and then there's other people who would prefer to use cross-dresser.
Yeah, they find a term
to
a little
avoid
derogatory.
Yeah, and to avoid any confusion with transgender, because sometimes you get people who say instead of transgender, will say, oh, transsexual or transvestite, not knowing the difference between the three terms.
You hear trans and immediately you lump everything together.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this just helps to clear things up a little bit.
And it's nice to see Bob does not care one bit.
Oh, no, not at all.
He just looks back and he sees the Adam's apples and he's like...
He has a moment of realization like, oh, okay, these are not women. Whatever.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
No, he doesn't care. He thinks they're fun.
Makes jokes with them. And
honestly, he's making some money off of them because they're a fare for him.
Yep.
So Marbles says something in the first scene with them together. She says, "Stop staring at us. This ain't a library." And I totally don't get that joke. Because, like, what? Do you just stare at things in libraries, Jason?
I have no idea where that comes from or
maybe,
what it's about.
Maybe it's like, oh, don't peruse us or something. I don't know. But
Stop checking us out.
Yeah,
maybe she just mixed up the term. Like, don't check us out. We're not a library. And she just... It's like, make like a tree and get the hell out of here. No, it's make like a tree and leave.
It was a cute moment. And another small detail that I noticed, we brought up earlier, the mullet Speedo rollerblade wearing guy, he gets out of the cab and he looks like he's totally passed out. Like he's, had some crazy night. He's gone out drinking and he's just out cold. And in a later episode, actually in season 3, episode 14, Lindependent Woman, where Linda gets a part-time job, we see him rollerblade past a bunch of marked down bottles of liquor and say, "Great prices, I wish I still drank." So you know what? Maybe he quit. Maybe he had such a terrible evening, realized, this is not the life I want to live, and quit drinking. Wow. I thought it was a tiny little moment, but it kind of made me happy to think that maybe his life was a little off the rails, and
he turned it around.
I mean, he's still got a mullet, he's still wearing a Speedo, and rollerblades all around. But maybe he does it sober now. Passing out less.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's sober now, so honestly, he has no excuses for that outfit anymore. Maybe we'll have an episode in the future where mullet, Speedo wearing rollerblade guy... I have to, come up with, an acronym for this dude. Anyway, rollerblade dude will, get his life totally together and will end up wearing, some button-down outfit, but then realize he needs to stay true to himself and goes back to wearing the Speedo. Because you know what? It's a terrible outfit, but you do you, man. You do you. So... Tina hands out birthday party invitations to her classmates, but to her dismay, she discovers that Jimmy Jr.'s father won't allow him to go because of his rivalry with Bob. Tina decides she doesn't want to have a birthday party without her crush. Bob tries to reason with Jimmy Pesto, but Jimmy refuses to let his son attend the party unless Bob shaves his mustache for Jimmy's trophy collection.
Not his mustache.
Not his mustache.
His livelihood.
His nose cozy.
His nose cozy.
His livelihood.
Well, some people's facial hair defines them.
And Bob's facial hair definitely defines him. He looks super freaking weird without it.
And you think I look weird without mine?
Yeah, I think you look like a child.
There you go.
And it's weird.
So it's an important part of Bob's personality.
He's obviously attached to it. He's probably had it for a really long time.
He probably feels more confident with it.
Yeah. And I think he just thinks it's the most weird request he's ever heard, and he never, ever wants to give Jimmy Pesto any kind of satisfaction.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why he refuses to do it.
He doesn't want Jimmy Pesto to win.
And it is a super weird ask.
It's a very weird request.
Super, super weird. So, Jimmy Pesto Jr. is kind of sweet in this episode. We meet him for the first time. And were you at all surprised when you first saw him? Like, that he was, you know, kind of a regular looking kid. He wasn't, you know, like the hunkiest kid in this class or anything like that. And, you know, he's a little bit shy. He's got a lisp, you know.
He's a little weird.
Yeah, and he's a little bit weird.
I was glad to see that he wasn't traditionally handsome or like the most popular guy in school. Mm-hmm. It's weird because it feels like she sees something in him that nobody else sees.
Or maybe she sees his butt.
Yes, she definitely sees his butt.
I think she does have a pretty obvious attraction to him, like physical attraction. Like she does find him physically attractive,
sure.
But I like that he's not, you know, Mr. Hunky popular guy, because that's just so cliche at this point.
It's boring.
That it's kind of nice to have someone who seems kind of like an underdog, someone that she could relate to. And
there's definite personality in Jimmy Pesto Jr.
Yeah, I don't think we see a lot of it in this episode.
That's true.
But we will see it in the future, and I actually kind of like him better in this episode than I do in the future. I find he starts to be a little bit snarky and mean towards Tina.
Is.
But here, it really seems like he does like her too. You know, like he's got a crush on her as well. Yeah,
which is strange that they didn't keep that same feeling. Maybe they found it more interesting if he kind of rejected her or was indifferent towards her. Because, I mean, in this episode, he's mopping inside and then he looks like he's pining for her. Like, I want to be there, but I can't. Yeah, he does seem interested, and he's not rude to her when she asks, would you like to come to my party? And he doesn't seem to be put off by her advances, so... But I think, in the future, they kind of turn that a little bit because it would just be too easy. Then it would just be Tina with a boyfriend, right? Yeah, you got to have the storylines. Instead of a little push and pull there. Yeah. It's more interesting to have a bit of conflict and struggle, which is fine. So what did you think of Jimmy Pesto's rare and exotic trophy wall? Because who the heck puts up a pair of women's underwear right behind their bar at their restaurant? I mean, this is supposed to be like a nice upscale place, like you said, Jason. You know, an Olive Garden-esque restaurant. Olive Garden, super upscale. Which is, you know, like the height of all class. What if it was Marilyn Monroe's underpants? No underpants. Gross. What if it was Elvis's? I don't want to look at underpants while I'm eating my, like, rigatoni or whatever. No, thank you. No, I totally agree. It's a little... I think it's cool to have rare and interesting artifacts, maybe from around the world. Yeah. But things like Bob's mustache and underpants... Yeah, he has a pair of women's underwear, a signed baseball, a picture of him with women in bikinis, postcards, and a singing bass. Like, that's not even really trophies of anything. The baseball might be a trophy. Yeah, the baseball, okay, that makes sense. And if it's signed. Like someone famous and they're, you know, someone's famous underwear, not that the underwear is famous,
a famous person's underwear. Maybe pictures of like models or something in bikinis, I guess. But it mainly just seems like Jimmy Pesto's wall of sleaze instead of Jimmy Pesto's wall of trophies.
No, that totally makes sense. And it fits his personality.
Oh, yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
So there's this moment when Bob goes to Jimmy Pesto's to talk about his mustache being shaved. Mm-hmm. And Bob has a great comeback. He has a fantastic comeback, but nobody's there to hear it. His kids aren't there. Linda's not there. Nobody hears it. So it might as well not have happened. Bob says, if you want hair so badly, why don't you pick it out of the food that you serve?
Oh, yeah. No, that's a good one.
And it's great. But nobody's there to hear it, so...
Yeah. His moment of victory
is alone.
Unnoticed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's all alone when it happens. And in future episodes, this keeps happening where he can't think of a great comeback, or he thinks of one too late and Jimmy's gone. So I feel like this is one of the shining moments of his comeback history. And it fizzles.
Yeah, it's a very relatable trait for Bob to have, because I think we often have those moments where you're thinking the next morning, you're in the shower and you go, oh, I wish I'd said that to that jerk.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Bob refuses to shave his mustache, further disappointing Tina. He has one final night as a cab driver where he may or may not have smoked crack. But if he did, he liked it. Tina's girl-boy birthday party is terribly awkward, until all of Bob's nightlife friends arrive. Bob sacrifices his mustache for Tina, just as Tina realizes how much her father has already sacrificed for her. Tina finally has her first kiss, and the party is a success.
Tina has her first kiss. How cute! In front of her family. How awkward! You're me anyway.
Were you watching the kiss? Because it was pretty awkward.
It was terrible. Honestly, I kind of applaud Jimmy Jr. for even going for it, because she takes off her glasses.
And
she has like the teeniest little eyes. And she just approaches him with an open mouth and her tongue's sticking out, wiggling all over. And he just kind of has this look of, okay, I'll go for it.
Do you think it was his first kiss too?
Probably.
Yeah, that's probably why he was like, I might as well go for it.
Yeah.
And her dress looked really... I don't know, poofy.
Ridiculous.
It looked a little ridiculous.
She looked a little bit like she was attempting a Disney princess look.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of childish, actually. Mm-hmm. But it was sweet. You could see that there was some good intentions there. And I can imagine that Linda probably picked it out thinking that, oh, this is my cute little daughter. She's going to wear this. Thinking 13-year-olds would totally want to wear that.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair... I had not a poofy dress, but not the most flattering dress for my 8th grade graduation. It was gold, and it went like way down to the floor, and it had these big, long, like drapey sleeves.
Really?
Oh yeah. My mom made it for me. It was not my thing, but it was nice. Like, it was really sweet of my mom to make it, of course, and she did a really nice job, but it was kind of a ridiculous dress. At the time, my hair would not hold a curl at all, but I was really adamant about having my hair curly. So I went to the hairdressers, got it done, all curled up, and by the time my graduation started, they were already like all falling out.
Oh no.
So it was just like the whole look was not working that evening.
Oh,
no.
That's too bad.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of awkward teenage moments. Definitely. So
she has her first kiss.
Yeah.
And she imagines her and Jimmy floating around in the sky with unicorns farting out rainbows.
Yeah.
And flying zombies.
Really?
Flying zombies.
Wow, I missed the flying zombies.
Rotating around them.
Girl has some weird...
She loves those zombies.
Weird fetishes.
Yeah.
We do learn that Jimmy Pesto has quite the interesting fetish. He is what people would call a diaper lover.
Right. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this part.
No.
I'm not, because I know it's a super weird fetish, but...
And not very socially acceptable.
And not socially acceptable.
And that's the big problem with it, right? Yeah.
But I'm sure there's thousands and thousands of people out there that have really weird fetishes that might make other people go a little queasy or be grossed out. And the thing about fetishes is you shouldn't shame anybody for what they like.
Yeah, it's kink shaming.
Unless it's illegal.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if it is necrophilia.
So I don't really like the fact that they use that against Jimmy Pesto, but it makes sense to me, and I would totally probably do that too if I were in Bob's position, because it's a way for him to win in the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that Bob just sees it as a way for him to get Jimmy Jr. to go without actually giving Jimmy Pesto his mustache, and therefore that kind of satisfaction. Yeah, it's like, I know this secret about you that would make you really embarrassed if people knew, so I'm going to hold it over your head. Yeah. So, have you ever seen the movie 16 Candles?
Yes, a while ago.
Okay, because the music was very familiar to me, which is kind of funny because I don't think I've seen the entirety of 16 Candles.
Oh, really?
No. But I could tell that the music was from an 80s movie. Mm-hmm. It just had that kind of synthy feel to it. And I ended up looking up what it was, and it is the music from 16 Candles right at the end. Yeah, so it is exactly right. Yeah, it's perfect.
So the music for this episode, the original piece for this was just, I love it.
Pulling down the pants of the night.
Yep. Reaching around down there.
Oh my gosh.
That's
well,
great.
That's basically because Bob is kind of like a pimp this episode.
He really is.
Yeah. And Tina actually calls him, like saying, "Oh, Dad, you're the best pimp I've ever could have dreamed of," and is that's fine, I guess.
Yeah.
They're a pretty progressive family,
Sure, why not?
Obviously, Louise knows what a pimp is, and she's telling Bob he needs a bigger hat.
Yep.
And this is when we meet Marshmallow.
Mm-hmm.
I love that she just walks in, takes off her really glam coat, and just has this, I don't even know what that is, but it's like a banana hammock. It's like a stretched out Speedo banana hammock, something or other, but you know what? She works it.
Oh, yeah.
She looks fab. She's got great hair.
And Louise's line, why do they call you Marshmallow? Because if you show me a sweet potato pie, I am on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love Marshmallow. She's so great. And interestingly, I think that Marshmallow is not part of that camp, like is not a cross-dressing sex worker. I don't think
so either.
I don't think she's actually a sex worker.
I don't think anybody could afford her.
No.
She's the queen.
No, but it's her job, her kind of identity is sort of left as a mystery. Mm-hmm. And we even bring that up later in later episodes where Bob's sort of saying that she's mysterious and she doesn't follow anybody's rules and stuff like that. And I like that. There's just a little bit of mystery about Marshmallow, Yeah,
and Bob always recognizes her whenever he sees her in the future. It's like, oh, hey, Marshmallow. Like,
yeah,
she's always known.
Yeah, and she actually starts to have sort of a little bit of a friendship with Bob, which is nice. It continues on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She'll show up every now and then.
Yeah. But we don't see the main three ever again.
No, we don't. Yeah, which is too bad, because I did like those three. They were funny.
Yeah, they were.
They were funny without being offensive.
I think it's probably easier to have Marshmallow around just because the voice actor, David Herman, is already part of the show.
Exactly.
And he's a reoccurring character. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to have one voice actor do several voices in your show. All right, Jason, so does that bring us to our Burger of the Week segment?
I believe it does.
All right. I have 3 burgers this week. How many do you have?
I have 3 burgers as well.
What? Finally.
We're on the same page
equal
here.
Numbers. Okay.
So we have equal chances to win?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so...
Yeah, sure, she says.
I said that with so much confidence. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's just go.
This is what people listen to our podcast for. They want to hear our incredible ideas.
Yeah.
Which are not puntastic at all.
No.
Not even a little bit.
Okay.
So, my first burger is Big Yellow Flaxy.
That's so bad! Like, so bad!
Let me preface this with saying
okay, so it's gonna be a
all
flax
of my burgers
seed burger?
Are bad.
Okay.
Oh, it's just flax everywhere. Flax in the bun, flax in the burger, little sprinklings of flax seed.
Doesn't even sound very good.
I don't care. That's the burger I came up with, and it's flax-tastic.
Oh my god. You started off
pretty
strong?
high. I started off really strong.
Real strong. All right. I was trying to think of a burger that was like off of marshmallow. And of course, because of our line, like sweet potato pie, I was like, oh, I could do like a sweet potato burger. No.
Boring.
S'mores burger. Yeah.
What's it called?
So, no, that's what it's called. It's called s'mores.
But that's not a pun.
No, it's really not. Oh, crap. I didn't come up with a pun. It's just a s'mores burger.
So what's on it?
S'mores.
And meat?
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
No, okay, so you would have the burger, and then you would have, like, probably crumpled up graham crackers, and then marshmallow and chocolate. And maybe it would be called... Oh, man, this isn't even like a burger name. It's
Let me just
a
tell
s'mores
you
burger.
that meat and chocolate probably isn't the best combo.
Okay, you would think so, but if you've seen...
Says the vegetarian.
Yeah, I know, right? I have, like, no basis in real life about this. But I do remember a scene in the movie Chocolat where they had, like, turkey and chocolate together, and it was apparently, like, amazing. So I'm just gonna go off of that. Plus, there are burgers out there, like famous burger restaurants that have Reese's peanut butter cups on them, or like peanut butter on them, or something weird that you wouldn't think would work, but ends up working.
So you're saying don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah. I don't think the s'mores burger is going to be winning, since apparently it doesn't even have a pun. I wrote this late last night, apparently. So...
That's when I do my best thinking.
Yeah, apparently I don't. So anyway, you go with yours.
All
Still think yours is worse. Flaxseed? Terrible.
So I've got another one. This is Keep the Meter Runion burger.
Oh my god. You know what is really terrible? That this is not a visual medium, because I feel like you could make very good reaction gifs out of my face every time you say your burger puns. Like, every time.
Maybe we'll film this segment next time.
Okay.
We'll put it as an extra.
Yeah, listeners, let us know. Do you want us to film this segment so you can just see how much I'm face palming right now?
Keep the Meter Runion.
Terrible.
So
I love it.
It's got an onion ring on the burger.
Oh, okay.
Which is delicious. Mm-hmm. And maybe a different types of onions as well. You get your red, you get your white, you get your yellow. Just a little bit of, and in the patty itself, little bits
So
of
you
onion.
really don't want to be having your first kiss after this burger?
Not at all.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether this is normal, but when my mom used to make homemade burgers, that's what she'd do. She'd chop up onions and put them in the burgers themselves, in the patties.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I think my mom used to do that too. I don't remember.
It's good. It's delicious. Little
Maybe
diced
garlic
onions.
as well.
Yeah. So that's my second burger. Keep the Meter Runion.
Okay. I had... Mine are so not going to win this week. Anyway, that's fine. I had the Taxi Crab Cake Burger.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So, outside protein.
Outside protein.
Again. But, yeah. It would be like a crab cake as the burger itself. So, we're going with that sort of seafood feel to it. And, taxi crab.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. Short and sweet.
It's cute. It's cute, right? Yeah, okay. What's your last one? Honestly, I can't even describe the Taxi Crab Cake Burger because I don't know what goes in crab cake other than crab and maybe breadcrumbs.
Okay, so my third burger.
I'm gearing up. I'm getting ready for this. All right.
I'm not sure whether to go for the double pun or the single. I'm going to go for the single.
And then give me the double after?
And then give you a double. So it's Call Me a Cabbage.
Oh my god.
And my double was going to be Kale Me a Cabbage. And have sliced kale and cabbage as the greenery instead of lettuce. So...
No.
So those are my 3 perfect burgers. Big Yellow Flaxy, Keep the Meter Runion, and Kale Me a Cabbage.
Oh god. Okay. My last one was... It's a pun from the most quoted line of the movie Taxi Driver. Are you talking to me? So mine is, are you talking turkey?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So it would be a turkey.
I was trying to think of a pun for that as well.
It took a really long time to think of one. So
wow. Are you talking turkey?
But you gotta say it
Are you talking turkey?
Yeah, you gotta say it like De Niro.
Oh god.
Yeah, so it would just be a turkey burger with like whatever your favorite toppings are.
Wow.
All right. We have some really terrible ones this week. Guys, if you have any really funny, punny burger names, like if you could think of better burger names to do with cab driving or like first kisses or something like that, I mean, let us know, because this was actually a lot harder.
It was a lot harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it was so much harder than the other episodes, which is bizarre because I love this episode so much. And I thought, oh, this is going to be super easy. I'm going to be able to think like a million taxi puns. No, it's much harder than it looks. Mm-hmm. All right, Jason. So which one are you going to put up for rock, paper, scissors?
Oh, we're rock, paper, scissoring it. We're not just choosing.
Or are we just choosing my Are You Talking Turkey burger? Because I think that one had the best reaction. Just saying.
I think my Keep the Meter Runion works.
Okay, so I'm going to go with Are You Talking Turkey? And you're going to go with Keep the Meter Runion. All right, let's pull up them sleeves. Well, for me anyway.
Short sleeves.
All right. Okay. Wait, we got to do the...
Oh, yeah.
Just like we did last time. Okay. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Shoot. All right.
Jason chooses rock. Vivienne chooses scissors.
All right, so...
Keep the Meter Runion.
Keep the Meter Runion. You know what? I'm okay. It's terrible, but it's respectable.
I like it.
And I can lose to that one.
And it's
I'm
not
okay.
Big Yellow Flaxy.
Oh my god, that one's so bad. Like, that burger does not even sound good. But, like, the onion burger sounds good. Especially if it's an onion, like a couple of onion rings or something on the top. Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, well, this concludes Burger of the Week, a Multiverse Radio production. If you like our show, please leave a rating and review on iTunes. It helps others find the show, and we love hearing your feedback. If you have comments or a punny burger name you'd like to share, you can find us on Twitter at Multiverse Radio or Facebook at Multiverse Radio Podcast. You can also visit our website, multiverseradio.ca. See you next week for a review of episode 7, Bed and Breakfast, where we have some wonderful Teddy moments.
Oh, so many good Teddy moments. I'm very excited for this episode. Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while.
Teddy.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Bye. So we are introduced to the rivalry. Yeah. So we are introduced to the rivalry. I'm gonna mess up because I keep thinking I'm gonna say rivalry. Oh, I date you publicly?
I think I think my other burgers are worse, don't worry.
Okay. Bob tries to reason with Jimmy Pesto, but Jimmy refuses to let his son attend the party unless Bob shaves his mustache for Jimmy's Pesto's hell. Nope. Bob tries to reason with Jimmy Pesto, but Jimmy refuses to let his son attend the party unless Bob shaves his mustache. This is super annoying. Okay, I'm starting the part over. It's there. Okay.
It's okay, I got this.
No, it's fine. I got it. I can do it. Okay. Alright. Bob tries to raise...
Cut! We're wasting tape!
No! There's no tape. I can do this, Jason. Believe in me. Okay. Get the giggles out. Alright. Bob tries to reason with Jimmy Pesto, but Jimmy refuses to let his son attend the party unless Bob shaves his mustache for Jimmy's trophy collection.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it, I think.
I like that. It's got a nice ring to it. Jimmy Pesto's wall of sleeves.
Yeah.
Come check out the sleeves at our skeezy food factory.
Yep.